Hello everybody, welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Oana.
So today we are going to talk about rent to own.
Yes.
Rent to own is a sort of a popular way for somebody to buy when they maybe don't have the credit to buy right now, but they want to buy a house. So they do this thing, so talk about rent to own. How does it work?
So we all know what renting is like, right? You come in, you've got your security deposits and all that good stuff, and then you make your rent payment, right? That's clear out rent. But rent to own works somewhat similar, except that instead of all those security deposits, now you have a deposit that gets credited in whole or in part when you actually go through with the purchase. So you start at the beginning. Instead of having a lease agreement, you have a sort of purchase agreement that says that you're going to be renting this house for this amount of money. You're going to give this money as earnest money, and it's going to be credited at the end toward the purchase price. This is usually sometimes 2-3 years, and you're agreeing to rent this house for 2 to 3 years, and at the end of that period, you're going to actually finish the purchase. And you may or may not have come up with a purchase price.
Yep.
So that's really important to figure that out, both if you're the seller or the person looking to buy. What will that purchase price be? Is it something that you're determining right now, or is it something that's going to be market value at the time?
So let's talk about that first.
Okay.
So you're probably wondering, well, why would I agree now to purchase the house for a certain amount when I don't know what the market's going to be like in a couple years, right? But so this is why you would do it. Let's say that your deal is you're going to rent to own, and you're paying the rent's $1,000. That's the if you rented the house, you'd pay $1,000, but you're going to pay $1,500 a month.
Right.
Now, $500 of that is credited or put in a separate account or whatever. It's not out of your control. Goes to the owner of the house, and it's used either as a credit toward your purchase in the future, or it's some other thing. But however, if you for some reason fail to purchase the house,
right,
they keep it.
Right.
It's like your option money. It's gone. You don't get it back. You just overpaid for rent for a certain amount of time. So what you might want to do is say to the landlord, look, this house today is worth $250,000, okay? I'll buy the house in 2 years, because in 2 years my credit will be good. I should be able to get a loan and buy the house. I'll buy the house in 2 years, and I'll pay you $270, because we'll assume the market's going to go up a little bit. So in 2 years, the house will probably be worth $270. And you sign this agreement to buy the house for $270 in 2 years. You're going to pay $1,500 a month rent. Now, let's say 2 years has passed, and the real estate market has tanked. The house is only worth $220. You would not. Why would you pay $270 for the house? So what you do is you don't exercise your option to buy the house.
Right.
You just go, well, I'm not going to pay $270. It's $50,000 more it's worth. So you just threw away the $500 a month is rent. You probably actually go find some other house for $220, and the guy keeps the thing. The other reason you would want to lock in the price is this. Let's say the market skyrockets.
Right.
And you said you would pay $270. It's now worth $320. And so you're like, well, I'm definitely buying the house now because it has all this equity and I'm buying it. And if you do the paperwork right, he has to sell the house at that price because you have this agreement to transact at a certain price. And if he tries to back out and say, I changed my mind, you can just, in theory, go. This is the point where you lawyer up.
Yes.
You go find the attorneys and go to court and say, hey, we have a legal agreement. He says he's selling me the house. I want him to perform and do the house. That's why you want to potentially agree to a house, agree to a price on the house for a rent to own.
Right.
Okay.
So now the flip side of that is, if you're the seller, why would you want to agree to this? So there are a couple of reasons. Yep. First of all, we established that the rent is going to be higher than market rent. Second of all, people who are doing a rent to own tend to take better care of the property. They tend to maybe sometimes do small improvements out of their own pocket. So this is good for you. The other reason why you might want to do this is because most of rent to own never come to fruition.
They don't.
So that means that at the end of the term, The people that were renting to own do not exercise the option, do not purchase the property, and you got to pocket the extra rent money. Your property hopefully was well taken care of, maybe even improved. So it's a win situation for you. Unfortunate for the person who did the rent to own. So there are good parts on both sides. There are some downsides to both sides, like with anything else. So, but if your credit is not the best, if you need a whole lot of money down and you just don't have it, this is a good way to have that down payment. And if you know you're going to exercise that option and go through with the purchase in a couple years, it's a good way to get into a house.
Okay, there's risk involved.
Yes.
So just you have to be careful anytime you do these rent-to-owns. It does take cooperation. The problem with them has always been this thing. This is the thing I've always heard everybody say, and I've talked to people who say they won't do it. And this is why.
Right.
The people, the landlords or the owners of the house have always said, well, wait a minute. If the market takes off and skyrockets, I'm just now selling the house for less than it's worth, and he's getting the money. And if the market tanks, he doesn't exercise the option to buy the house, and now I'm stuck with the house in lower value. I should have sold it 2 years ago when it was worth more money, right? So there's risk. And remember, the buyer or the tenant is always the one who has control because they get to decide. Now, there's another way to do this, and the other way to do it is you put the money up front, all the money up front. So let's say we're going to use a $250,000 house again, and we'll just say the rent's $1,000, and you're only going to pay $1,000 rent, but you're going to give $25,000 up front, and the owner, the landlord, takes that, and you write up a contract, go to attorney, get a contract written up, explaining that $25,000 is like a prepayment. So when you have to close, you only have to give them $225 now because you've already given them the $25. Okay. Now, of course, if the market tanks again, you're still stuck in that situation where you may be still overpaying for the house, right? But here's the problem. What happens is in 2 years from now, you haven't really worked on your credit very well. You maybe had some collections, and now no one will give you a loan, and your time frame is up, and the landlord says, look, you either have to buy this house or you've lost the right to buy it, and you could lose your money. And there was a situation we had, a real world situation where, and this was a little unscrupulous, but the landlord had taken I think about $30,000 and said, I'll sell you the house in 2 years, but you got to give me $30,000 right now. So they went online and got some paperwork, wrote up the contract. He gave him $30,000. 6 months later, the guy had stopped paying his mortgage. The house got foreclosed. So I showed up, knocked on the door, and said, hey, your house is foreclosed. I'm taking it over for the bank. We're going to sell it and whatever. He goes, oh, no, I have an option to purchase the house. We're like, with who? He goes, the guy that used to own it. He goes, well, he doesn't own it. The bank owns it now. And the bank doesn't care about the fact that you gave this guy $30,000. And this guy was really upset. He was really upset. He's like, well, how do I get my $30,000 back? I don't know. I mean, you have to, I guess, go find an attorney and go back to him. And, maybe you can say he didn't perform on his job of maintaining the house so you could potentially buy it. And maybe you get the money back from him. But the bank didn't care. And so there's risk in doing rent to own.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. Any other rent-to-own stuff?
No, but just remember, if there's a will, there's a way. If you really want to buy a house, there is a solution for you out there. Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways. This is one option, but like with anything, get good advice. I would hesitate to just print forms off the internet. I would definitely sit with somebody, pay somebody some money who's a professional who has done these before, preferably who's licensed or has a law degree, depending on what state you're in, and put this all down in paper how it's going to go, so that when the time comes for you to execute this, you know what all of your options are, and that you're legally protected and you're doing everything the right way. There's potentially upside, there's potential downside.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And if you are doing this, definitely keep an eye on the county recorder. As far as if you're the tenant, keep an eye out on a county recorder. Make sure that there are no liens recorded against the property, no notice of default or anything like that, so you can stay ahead of the game. So it makes it less likely that something bad will happen.
And track the property.
Right.
You can like all of that, even notice of defaults. You should be able to track that.
Right.
So you can call the landlord and go, hey, you stopped making the mortgage payment, you're in default. What's going on? You're holding on to my $30,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you like the video, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, like us, share the video, leave us your comments. We want to hear from you.
Yeah. And we'll put our contact information below if you have any questions. We'll try to answer them best we can. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.